listening to Let Him Cook podcast, fueled by Cody Road and the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Nigel, I am recording this remotely. I'm not sure if you keep up on Iowa weather. A bit of a snowstorm headed our
Yeah,
way in the next
heard you
24
guys are
hours. We
going
get
through
like
it.
6 to 8 inches of snow in Des Moines, at least. So everyone be safe. Roads are going to be a little dicey, especially if you're heading to the game against Houston tomorrow. Drive safe. Use precaution. Guessing not 6 to 8 inches of snow in Louisiana. You guys, what's the temperature down there? Just so I can be jealous.
Well, today is a worse weather day for us too. It's
Oh
just
wow.
rain, a lot of rain.
Okay.
But geez, I'm still in Chicago weather. Right now it's 56, drizzle, nothing crazy. High of 63, but this is still considered like really bad weather because like we're supposed to get really bad thunderstorms. I think like around midnight. So yeah, it's good. Hopefully, there's not a Hurricane Katrina Part 2. Knock on wood. But I was always told in Central Louisiana you can't even get a like drastic hurricane like that. So I'm not that worried.
In a good sweet spot. Probably not getting a lot of snow this winter down there either.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it.
We have a conference opener to talk about. Didn't go the way Iowa State probably had hoped. Oklahoma wins 71-63. One thing I found interesting about this game, going into it, the leading scores from each team both really struggled. Taman Lipsey, 1 for 10 from the field, finished with 4 points. And their leading scorer, Otega Owe, didn't make a field goal, but he made 8 free throws. So he finished with 8 points. But I think that just kind of talks to, and that's something to kind of keep an eye on all year in the Big 12 and with Iowa State basketball, is more often than not, your number one option is going to be taken out of the game plan, so to speak. I mean, whoever is on the top of the scouting report is going to get their best defender and is going to probably have a tough night. And then I think the difference was the supporting cast. I think a lot of guys for Oklahoma kind of, stood up and filled that role for the Sooners, and Iowa State struggled. I kind of the overall theme to this, I didn't know if it was so much Oklahoma's defense or Iowa State's offense. And the only reason I say that is we've seen us score 100 points in the 90s, in the 80s against some of these smaller mid-major teams. But when we play Texas A&M or Virginia Tech or Oklahoma, we're struggling to get above 70 points. So do you think that's a cause for concern quite yet? Or do you think it's just, hey, Oklahoma has a really good defense and we had a bad shooting night?
No, I think when you get into like the whole Lipsey had a bad day because he's at the top of the scouting report, I think that's gonna kind of be a common theme going forward, especially given the fact that when it comes to, yes, our players have changed and our roster has changed a lot since last year. Our offensive philosophy hasn't really, and we all are not. We're not. This isn't news to anybody, but Iowa State's offense can sometimes get really stagnant. You and I complained about it a lot last year when we have bad days offensively, it's bad. Like there's no getting around that. And I think given that we have a bit more offensive firepower this year, I feel like we need to find that. And I think, having guys like Milan, who didn't have their best game, but, still contributed. I think these are huge, quote unquote, legacy games for them. And when those third, fourth options can't come together and, find their rhythm and get to scoring easily and early, I think you're just going to start off slow. I was shocked at halftime to only be down 6.
Yeah.
It felt a lot worse than that. And I think that, going forward, we just have to start out strong. And I don't think it's ever going to start with, it's just offense. Like we still have to remain true to our identity, which is playing defense and letting offense translate from that defense. So I think whether you're at home or away, I think you always got to be, kind of aware of that and try to just, to your best ability, play your brand of basketball. And I think Saturday we did not play our brand of basketball.
And credit to Oklahoma because Iowa State's defense looked really good. I thought, 90, 85% of the game. But Oklahoma was just so fundamentally sound with the basketball and offense. The ball movement was great. And, they had a lot of open shots that just didn't go in. But they were finding the open guy often, lots of times in the corner because of how hard Iowa State doubles or hedges or helps weak side. There's so much movement on defense for Iowa State that there's going to be open guys, but it usually takes a skip pass or a quick relay pass around the horn to get that ball to that guy. And Oklahoma was doing that. And some of that's just like that's how good the Big 12 is. I mean, you can play perfect defense, and sometimes those offenses are going to play better offense and find open guys. Speaking of Iowa State's offense, just two concerns for me. I think the key to getting easy points for Iowa State is off turnovers and fast breaks. And Gilbert and Lipsy both kind of struggled this game. And I think, it's easier to go straight to the rack when you're playing New Hampshire. And, whoever that guy is probably isn't as physical, and you're not going to get fouled as hard against a team like that. But even if you're not going to make that shot, you're probably going to get fouled. And I thought there were times where we could have pushed the pace on a turnover or a fast break, and we kind of, we set the offense, and that's fine, except our half-court offense, like you said, it can be stagnant at times. So if there's going to be points to be had, just go in. You just kind of got to be the aggressor in that situation, go get them. And then kind of speaking to Oklahoma, if Iowa State has an open shot and Momcilovic had open shots at times, those just have to go in. If we're gonna win some of these road games, you have to hit your open shots, and they're not bunnies. These are 20 feet or 3-point shot jump shots that he was taking. But those have to go in if you're gonna win in Norman.
And here's my
So I
thing
think
with
they
Milan.
just have some tough breaks.
Here's
Go
my
ahead.
thing with Milan. We haven't had a player in recent history who's taking those type of like Dirk Nowitzki shots that he takes. So I can't even sometimes when I'm
Right.
trying to watch, I don't know if it's a bad shot or not. Like, is that a
Right.
shot he's taking because he knows he can make it, and I just need to get used to that, or is it actually just a bad shot and we should look for something else? Because it's like I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Milan is more effective in the post fade option or just the catch and shoot option, with whether it's the corner or the wing?
I think he can hit both, and we've seen him hit both. I'd be more comfortable, at least for now, just catch and shoot.
Yeah.
And then if you're kind of cooking, if you're feeling it, then I think that's when you open up your low post game, those turnaround fades. I think that's when you kind of get into that bag. But if you're just trying to get a rhythm, I think catch and shoot. Basically any shooter ever. Like catch and shoot's just the easiest shot to get your game kind of rolling on offense. So I think get that down first, and then you open it up. Because like you said, I think we probably could get a better shot than a tough turnaround fade from a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But Oklahoma's defense, they were solid. Like maybe not. Maybe that is the best shot we can get. I get that's not a huge high percentage shot, but if he feels comfortable taking it, I don't really have anything against that shot. They just need to go in.
Yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to Oklahoma's McCollum. He's a really good player. You and I talked about him a bit before we played them, and it seems like he had a lot more than 15 points, but just very effective and kind of eased the bleeding when we showed signs of coming back and kind of chopping at the lead. It just seemed like he kind of just would shut us up pretty much on defense. So shout out to McCollum. He played a great game, and that's obviously going to be a focal point to any other Big 12 team playing him. He's going to be a big time player in this league.
I think that 12 to 8 minute stretch in the second half was like a very crucial, because like you said, Iowa State, we would tie it. They would, maybe take a 1 point. Well, they honestly didn't lead I think they took the lead for a couple seconds in that game, but they were kind of getting right there, right to the tie. And then Oklahoma would make a really good play on the other end. And that's just deflating as a fan, I'm sure, as a player, to be that close and then just to give up a tough shot. Oklahoma just, the roll goes the right way and they benefit. And now it's a 4-point game instead of a tie game in the span of 45 seconds.
Right.
And the other thing, going into halftime, like you said, I felt pretty good only being down 6, playing as bad as he did in the first half. And I thought either Keyshawn Gilbert needed to step up in the second half or Momcilovic. And I know Taman Lipsey is our leading scorer, but he's not really a create his own shot kind of guy. And maybe, like we said, Momcilovic might not be there yet either. I think Keyshawn is about as close as we have to a true, create his own shot, go get a bucket. And when you're struggling to kind of run through things organically in your offense, you kind of just need a guy like that to say, screw it, I'm going to take over. You just need someone to go full rogue cowboy, just say I got this shit, ISO, let me go get one.
Well, there was
a
a portion of the second half where Gilbert wasn't even in the game, and I'm like, put Keyshawn in the game. And
He
then
wasn't.
as soon as I said that, TJ put him in the game. So I was like, all
Yeah,
right, he's got to be our closer, I think, going forward.
yeah, and he was in foul trouble. I think he got his 4th foul with like 10 minutes left, and it was a bad foul too. And that's another thing. You can't. It was like a blocking foul at the 25 feet away from the basket, and that's just a foul. And I didn't love the call. It was kind of ticky tacky, but you just can't. If you have 3 fouls, you can't do that.
Yeah,
And
especially on the road.
then I
You're not
think
going to win that
Lipsy
battle.
and Gilbert were on the bench for like a stretch there, and that's when Oklahoma kind of kept it at arm's distance.
And I'm big on that too. Is like, I think if we had a big three, who would it be? You think it's Taman, Keyshawn, and Rob? Because here's my thing: regardless of who your big three is, I think one of those guys has to be on the floor at all times. And I think the
Yeah.
one thing we have to do to not shoot us in the foot is have Taman and Gilbert in the same situation when it comes to foul trouble. I think one of those guys has to be on the floor at all times.
Yeah, I think for sure, like Taman and Keyshawn, at least one of those guys needs to be out there as much as possible. And then I really think, and this is a bonus to Iowa State's roster, like the front court is pretty interchangeable. I think a lot of that is matchups. We saw DeMarion Watson get a lot of run against Oklahoma, and I think that was just to kind of combat the length and athleticism as Oklahoma. We didn't see him a lot or as much in non-conference because I just don't think we needed to turn to a guy like Watson. And he's always going to bring it on defense. I think that's another time where you'll see odds put Watson is if we're lacking defense, lost the word, intensity. DeMarion Watson's going to be put in that game because he brings it. And sometimes you just need a guy to set the tone off the bench.
Yeah, no, he's been great in his spurts that he has played. I'm telling you, I think he's a corner three. I'll keep saying it, corner three away from just being like that complete player for us. I think if he can just be a consistent like catch and shoot, we move the ball around 4 or 5 times, and he's wide open in the corner, can knock those down consistently. I think he's going to play a lot more, and I think he's going to do a lot of things for us. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see where his pedigree is. I guess his play is going to excel from here.
There is a sequence. It was a high point of my game and probably for you too. Hassan Ward misses the free throw, gets his own rebound, and just
baptizes that young man.
Mercy. I mean, that was one of the better dunks. Like that's like kind of a made up dunk. You seriously see that once, I don't know, every few months in basketball where a guy misses his free throw and has the athleticism to go dunk that. That was nuts. And I almost turned away from the screen because at that point, Oklahoma's going to get the rebound. He missed a free throw, whatever. Man, that was a man on a mission.
Yeah. I haven't seen a dunk that electric since, well, I didn't see this, but I've seen the highlight a bunch. But one time Scottie Pippen's at the free throw line, shoots a free throw, and out of nowhere, I don't know if Michael Jordan jumped over him, but I just see him coming, like as he's letting go of the ball, I just see Michael Jordan coming out and just cocking one back. Pause. But it gave me those type of flashbacks. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've seen one before, but I have not seen someone shoot their own free throw and go grab it and slam it back. I've seen a lot of like Wemby pump fake, toss it up, and then you go get your own rebound. But I've never seen the free throw shooter get his own miss. It seemed effortless.
Speaking of Wemby, he did this in France, so take it with a grain of salt. But he shot a 3-point shot, hit like back of the rim, went like 6 feet up in the air. From the 3-point line, he didn't jump from the 3-point line, but he like took 2 steps in and then put back his own 3-point shot. And that's one of the craziest. That should not be humanly possible.
Yeah, he's a freak. But so is Hassan Ward,
Yeah.
And if he can continue to play like that on a bum foot, bum ankle.
Right.
Just imagine if he was 100% healthy. Like had that ankle injury never happened. Oh my God. It'd be scary.
The other thing that I looked at the box score after the game. Hassan Ward, Rob Jones, and Momcilovic all finished with 12 points. And then our backcourt, which has been phenomenal thus far, combined for 4 for 15 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, and had 4 combined turnovers. And both guys fouled out. They both fouled out kind of in garbage time. But that's just – it's not That's not going to happen. And some of that is to Oklahoma's credit, forcing, both those guys to have bad games. But if we're gonna be a good Big 12 team, you were talking about a Big Three. I think those two are easily our Big Two.
Mhm.
Um, and they're just gonna have to play better. They're gonna have to be more aggressive in order for Iowa State to win games.
Yeah, I think playing with poise is going to be a huge,
Yeah,
just mental note for those two, because the early fouls are just you kind of being an eager beaver. And when it comes to Taman's still young at the end of the day, no matter how mature his game is. Gilbert also doesn't have that much Big 12 experience. He's coming from UNLV, which the conference play is solid, but it's nothing,
right.
nothing like this. So I think it's just a matter of, all right, let's get a gauge for it. What do we learn? How are we going to improve? And you got to go from that.
Nigel, we were kind of talking about the stagnant offense, and Iowa State fans for the last 3 years have seen similar sets offensively. One thing that has kind of gotten my attention lately, they'll do a lot of pick and rolls at the top of the key, but they don't really let them develop. And sometimes it's bad timing on the screen. The screener doesn't get up there soon enough, and by then the guard's kind of already moving and isn't able to utilize that kind of rub
Mhm.
like they usually would. Is that can't be by so like I mean you got to let the roller roll or it's
Yeah.
not a pick and roll. I mean it's in the name. What's kind of the point of even setting picks if we're not going to see him through? I guess is my question.
Yeah, no, I agree because I think the biggest thing in a pick and roll is so if say Hassan's setting a high ball screen, you have to let Hassan like screen a body.
Right.
And then after screening a body, I've realized this is what opens up that pocket even more than it already is opened if you just screen a body. But it's the way you have to let the five seal that guy that he's screening. Because once you screen him, you then have to kind of spin your body off of him to then gain that momentum to go straight to the basket. And that opens up a huge pocket for the guard to get that ball to you. So I think it comes with kind of just being patient. Monte Morris is really good at this, obviously,
Yeah.
too. But just being patient and letting the five man seal that guy actually. Because I feel like sometimes because of say Oklahoma is going to blitz a screen or something, it's hard to kind of just gain momentum to the basket while also trying to make sure he's sealing the guy. So it comes down to making the right reads, but I think it's a give and take, and like the 1 and the 5 or the 2 and the 5, they all have to be on the same page before that screen is actually like, all right, let's go to the basket. No, let's screen the body, let's seal the body, then let's go to the basket. It's like a tango, and I think sometimes people miss steps, and that's normal. But I think it just comes with playing together. I think that's all. It's going to take time to get
Right.
that rhythm down.
And I think patience is a really good word there. And then at times too, I think our spacing was kind of thrown off as to where, guys would be coming up to the top of the key to set a screen and they're running into a teammate of theirs. And there's other times it'd be like on a fast break, we'd have three guys on the same half of the court.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of mental mistakes of where, Oklahoma's defense isn't forcing you to do those kinds of things. And it kind of felt like, the first conference game of the season. There's
Yeah.
just some easy things to clean up. And those things being prevented can lead to 8 extra points in a game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: on the break, when Hassan's in the game, because he's so interchangeable, especially when he's at the five, you got three people on one side of the court. That's fine in transition. Just make sure the person closest to the baseline is eventually going to fill in on the other
Right.
side, so then you have a balanced court. And then, or if not, you want to overload one side. You can hit this guy, set him a screen, and it's a two-man game. You don't necessarily have to be a big to screen somebody. If everyone gets really good at screening, it's kind of the Golden State Warrior rule. You're gonna get open shots.
Right.
You just got to be able to screen like almost unselfishly to get open to get those open shots. So I think it's all about getting used to each other. I think when you're playing these respectfully not the best teams in the country to then we got to play the best teams in the
Right.
country. I think you don't have the best gauge of where your team chemistry is off the rip, and I think games like this is where you guys are really gonna have to come together, and get tight knit and know each other's tendencies like the back of your hand.
Yeah, and I think another thing, like our defense is going to keep us in games. Like we saw it in the first half. if our defense isn't a top 5 defense in the country, I think Oklahoma's probably up 15 points at halftime. So Iowa State's going to, and they've done it the whole time Ox has been here. They're going to stick around until the very end, and then there's going to be some key plays down the stretch in the second half that decide if they win or lose a game. And yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a team that will get better as the season goes on. Big 12 season, I should say. We're what, 11-3. So I mean, we're not
Yeah, we'll be
struggling
all right.
record-wise, but yeah, there's just some easy things to clean up, and I think they'll work on that in weeks to come. I'm not too worried about what I saw. Open shots will go in just mathematically. So yeah, I don't think that there wasn't any, big blaring issues that I saw in this game that gave me any real worry going forward.
Yeah, I mean, knowing us, we tend to the shots we missed against Oklahoma, we'll probably make a bunch of them against Houston. That's
Right.
just that's the Iowa State way. The
Yeah.
teams you got no business playing well against, we play lights out. So I don't know what they drink before breakfast, but it's working.
Yeah. Without anything, do you got anything left on the Oklahoma game before we turn our attention to Houston?
Nah, it's kind of water under the bridge at this point. I kind of
Yeah.
got everything off my chest.
Yeah. Houston, so we're recording this January 8th. Houston plays tomorrow. So if you're listening to this post-Houston game, feel free to skip ahead. Some of this will be a little outdated if you're listening to this at the end of the week. We'll recap Houston next week. So if you're looking for Houston reaction, you'll have to wait till next Monday. Man, Houston beat the brakes off of West Virginia. West Virginia going through kind of a tumultuous season. I don't think they're expected to do great in the Big 12 this year. Houston led by more than 20 points the entire second half. Woof. Man, Houston, if you look at their KenPom, their defense might be one of the better defenses that KenPom has ever recorded thus far. I mean, they're first in 2-point defense. They're one of the best turnover ratio teams in the country. And that's kind of what Kelvin Sampson has just built his identity on while he's at Houston. They're ranked third. I haven't seen the AP poll. Maybe it's out. I don't think they'll, jump over Houston or Kansas or Purdue. So I think they'll be ranked third come tomorrow. I think they're the best team in the country. I thought they were the best team in the country last year.
Really?
I really do. I think they are just a buzzsaw. And like analytically, it's been clear for maybe the last 3 years that they've been the best team in the country.
I don't know. I look at Purdue and they scare me.
Houston, they've
they
been
scare
faking
me,
it
man.
forever. Purdue should scare nobody.
No, Purdue is like, the 2015 Wisconsin team with Kaminsky and Decker?
Yeah.
It's like that team on steroids. If they all just were taking human growth hormone, they all just look a little bigger. And like, I'm like, yo, what's in the corn in Indiana? Because I want some of it. But
Zach
I don't know.
Edey's just tall. That team.
It's not just Zach Edey. I'm talking about their wings. Like they all look like tight ends. I'm like, bro, where do they find these kids? And they can all shoot the three. You got guys who, when Zach Edey's in foul trouble, you got guys playing down low that are pretty efficient. So they just seem like a more balanced team this year. They also got Lance Jones as their 2-guard from Southern Illinois. So they got some dudes. I don't know. I don't know about the Houston best in the country. Top 3, yes, but I don't know about number 1.
So I'm looking at their KenPom sheet right now. Number 1 in overall defense, number 1 in defensive effective field goal percentage, number 1 in turnover percentage on defense, number 4 in 3-point defense, number 2 in 2-point defense. This is kind of random, but teams shoot terribly from the free throw line against them. Number 1 in block percentage, number 1 in steal percentage. That is almost every defensive statistical category, and they're number 1 in 7 of them.
Look, are they the best defensive team? Probably. But overall, I'm rocking right now.
Okay.
I'm rocking with Purdue.
Okay.
But that's fine.
Here's my question. I think Iowa State is at their best when they don't play teams like them. So if you're playing, I think, unfortunately, Houston is like a souped up Iowa State. It's like that defense is nasty business. The offense is, they're better than Iowa State. They're known for their defense, and so is Iowa State. It is kind of two similar teams in terms of what they want to do. They want to out physical you. They want to turn you over, and they want to play in the fast break. Do you think playing at home makes a difference? Do you think Houston playing a similar style can help Iowa State?
Um, I don't know if home or away makes a difference. I don't
Yeah,
like playing there. I'll tell you that.
right.
Because it's like my confidence kind of lessens when it is an away game. But I think I think it's gonna have to be a rock fight to even be remotely close.
Yeah,
And maybe Oklahoma's a good tune-up game for that, even though it's not a win. It's still just like, okay, we're on the road. Like we're not. This isn't. It's not gonna get easier. We might as well, muck this game up. So I think even if a team is numbers wise better than you defensively, I think Houston probably had a better schedule too, so they could showcase that we're the best defense in the country type of stuff. And I think I'm definitely not as confident as I would like to be going into a game like Houston, but I think if we muck it up, if we stay out of foul trouble, I think we'll be right there where the game is up for the taking. It's just going to come down to execution on offense.
One thing I will say about Houston, they surprisingly have their star players to transfer. LJ Cryer, who played at Baylor, should be familiar with him. He's averaging 17 points. I would guess he's right now the favorite maybe to win Big 12 Player of the Year, maybe Hunter Dickinson in that
Yeah.
conversation too. But a lot of these guys are from high school to Houston, and I think in a way that can help Iowa State in terms of, before this year, Houston was playing at the American Athletic Conference, which has some fine home atmospheres. Memphis has a pretty good home court, but not really the same as, it's Kansas and then it's Iowa State and then you're at Baylor and then you're at Kansas. I mean, like a lot of these crowds can really change a game by 5 to 6 points.
Yeah.
And, they've made they've gone deep into the postseason and they've played in Final Fours and Elite Eight games. And those are obviously huge atmospheres as well. But I think, and it kind of sucks what this game is, I think if we're playing this game in mid-February and Houston's already played at a bunch of tough home arenas and now they have to come to Hilton, that's a daunting task. I just think Houston is so wired in right now as a team. I mean, they're the only undefeated team left in the country. Their closest game was to Texas A&M, who Iowa State lost to. They beat A&M 6 on a neutral site. I don't know. There's not a lot of room for I think Iowa State can take advantage of this or expose that. They're just so good up and down analytically. I don't really see a weakness. And that's how I've looked at them for the last 2 years.
Yeah. And I think Houston too is at this point where it's like they've been through enough crap of just not getting over the hump that we may be running into the best version of Houston, and that's okay.
Right.
So how are we going to weather that storm? I think they're going to throw their rocks at us. We got to throw some rocks back. It's going to be a rock fight.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see Iowa State in this game at all. Because without that dog fight mentality, it's going to be over fast. And I need either Gilbert or Taman in a game like that to always be in the game. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. And again, Watson showing glimpses in Oklahoma. If he can continue to do that for a game like Houston, we're going to need it. So a guy like that's got to be ready. I did want to ask you this, but a game like this where you got a lot of athletic people showcasing a lot of defensive strengths. What's the deal with Omaha? Is this a game where we can put him in and this is going to be, the coming out party per se for him? What do you think a player like him can he help Iowa State in a game like this, in an environment like this too?
I think, like you said, similar to Demarion Watson, I think games that are suited well for Demarion Watson are going to be suited well for Omaha. And if you can bring that defensive intensity, you're going to get minutes. So if that's what it comes down to, if you're trying to get more minutes, play your ass off on defense and rebound the ball, and you're going to find minutes to play for an Otzelberger basketball team. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I love throwing him into the literal fire that is the Houston Cougar basketball team. Because again, like a lot of Big 12 teams, and again, Houston is kind of the creme de la creme of what the Big 12 is. But like a lot of Big 12 is just like, versatile wings, wingspan, athleticism, physicality, strength. I think that's catered really well to Omaha. And it even, a lot of these guys too are 23. I think Omaha, when he's 23 years old, is going to be, even crazier athletically and physically than he is now. So I I get it. I don't know if this is a game for him. I think Demarion Watson again could see a lot of run, like you said. He's just been in this moment before. He's played against Kansas, he's played against Baylor, he's played against Texas. So I think I'd feel more comfortable throwing Watson in than Omaha. But yeah, it makes sense.
But also just like it's weird. Like he's not playing at all.
No,
And it's like it's kind of elephant in the room at this point.
right,
What's wrong? Like
right,
what is he doing wrong? I don't want to assume he's doing something wrong, but you know, if the answer from TJ is still, he's still not ready, when will he be? Because it's just I've never seen this situation where you got a 5-star kid coming in and he's showing little to no impact, into the beginning of January. I'm worried. I'm worried.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but
And like I think the early theory was, he's months behind. He was playing for Team USA. He didn't make it to, he wasn't in the gym the same amount as these other guys were preseason. But it's January. Like, I mean, he's had 5-6 months on campus now.
yeah.
And I get the other guys have still had 9 or 10 months, but he's never going to fully catch up. I mean, he's not going to get those 3 months back. So at some point, you just kind of got to be like, it's now or never. It's
That's what I'm
sink or
saying.
swim.
Like you might as well throw him in the fire.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think coaching sometimes there has to be some spontaneous nature to you, and I think when it comes to a situation like that where the kid has that potential, you've seen it, we've all seen it. I think this might be a game that is up to his speed because can you be Omaha Blue against the Wisconsin Green Bay to full capacity with all these other egos and guys on the team that do things too? Probably not. But a team that is already going to play your play style that you're used to, that kind of AAU up and down in your
Right.
face type of ordeal. I think this seems like an Omaha game. So if you're going to try it, now's the time, in my
And like
opinion.
Otts kind of went rogue in the Big 12 tournament. Like he was playing Conrad Holly. He was playing like whoever Eli King was getting minutes
And it
against
was
Oklahoma.
working. It was
Right.
working. That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, don't have a scouting report on him now. Maybe now's the time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
We've seen him do crazier things. I don't think it's out of the question completely.
yeah.
Um,
I'm just nervous. I
yeah.
don't want to see a kid like that enter the portal just because
Right.
we weren't playing him. So yeah, I hope at some point he just gets his opportunity.
Another thing to keep an eye on, just as Iowa State fans, maybe even if you have plans going to the game, the weather. It's a sellout game, but we've seen this happen before for the Cyclones, where it's a sold out game, huge blizzard, and then maybe you're only getting like 80%, 75% capacity. That would suck. You have this, Houston's first time ever playing in Hilton, a top 5 team. I really hope the weather misses Ames. Just let it happen. Just let everyone get there safely. I want to see a full arena. I want to have Houston in the thick of it. I want them to get the full experience. I think this is a game where you really need the crowd behind the team if we're going to keep it close or even win.
Wait, this game is in Hilton?
Yeah.
I thought this was away. I thought they were staying on the road. I thought they were going from Oklahoma to
Nah.
Houston.
Nah, it's back in
Oh,
Hilton.
well, that kind of changed my answer from earlier. I kind of said it thinking that they were gonna be because geographically it made sense. Like, don't travel back to Iowa if
But
you're gonna go.
do you really think a rock fight, though? Do you think it matters if you're playing at home or away? Like a rock fight's a rock fight at some point. Like we've seen
Yeah,
Iowa
I
State
think.
play West Virginia, and it looks the same. It's just as ugly no matter where it's played.
Yeah, I think. I think it's probably the same answer from that perspective, but
Right?
just I think blizzard or not, Hilton. If we need to, we'll sleep there. All right,
Yeah.
you got to have that mentality too. Like, because what we lack in students right now, because not everyone is back from break. You want to get that in. The no offense, but the older people, there's the people out of college. We can still pack the arena in that sense, and those people are just as loud. The everyday fans, and I think if you're able to, I guess, find some advantage, if you can, like we have done in the past, single out a player, find something out about him, find out his middle name, find out his mom's name or something, use it.
Yep.
As much as a basketball team's gonna do their scouting report, as fans, we have to do our scouting reports. Get personal. Get in these
All
people's
is
heads.
fair in love and war and student sections. I
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's everything is fair game.
yeah. I've heard terrible things,
Yep.
and I didn't hate it.
Yep.
I was okay with it. So,
That's just what it is.
yeah, it's life. What are you gonna do?
I think Houston, I think we might be catching them at a bad time. I think Houston will drop games on the road in the Big 12. I think every team does. Kansas does. Um, I just don't know if it's this one. I think it's a little too early. I think Houston's a little too dialed in.
I do, since we're talking about the top teams in the country, and we're coming off a huge Big 12 slate from Saturday. I cannot not acknowledge the fact that Kansas got absolutely bailed out once again
Oh my
in
God.
Allen Fieldhouse. TCU, I'm sorry. You guys
Justice.
got robbed. You guys got robbed in front of millions of people, and no one did anything about it. No one called the police. Nobody arrested Bill Self. They just gave him the W, and I was sick to my stomach. I had to get up and walk away.
Samuel Jackson, I should have pulled up the tweet. He said Hunter Dickinson flops like something, and I don't want to misquote him. But if you're getting the attention of Samuel Jackson,
Mind you, Samuel Jackson's an actor. If an actor's saying you're acting, you're
yeah,
acting.
he
All
knows
right?
acting. He
This
knows
guy was in
acting.
Pulp Fiction. He knows acting.
For those not aware of what crime was committed at Fog Allen, as it has many times before, and this is what sucked. There were people on Twitter like 10 minutes before it happened predicting this would happen. That's just
Yeah.
how like blatant it is. So what had happened was uh like loose ball, two guys going up for a rebound. TCU got the rebound and he's turning to pass it and just clips Dickinson in the face. You would have thought Dickinson had
Got
been,
shot.
yeah, had been just someone from the
Gunned
upper deck
down.
had got him.
Gunned down.
Falls to the ground. You would have thought his jaw had just broken.
Yeah.
And TCU's pushing the pace because they got 5-on-4.
Mhm.
And they called the play dead. And immediately, both commentators like, you can't play the call dead until it's finished.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't let it finish.
No.
Like, you don't even know if you're gonna make it yet. You just trying to, like, bruh. Just what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm just as upset about this. And then so they call the play dead. They look to see if it's flagrant. In real time, I was like, he's flopping, and that's not a flagrant foul. And then as soon as they blew it dead, I was like, they're calling this a flagrant foul. So essentially, TCU had a chance to go up 2 or 3 points. Play gets called dead. Dickinson, now miraculously fine,
Yeah.
goes and makes 2 free throws, and Kansas gets the ball back and they take the lead. So it's like a 6-point swing from a call that should have never happened.
Yeah. And here's my problem with Kansas is, people constantly give them the benefit of the doubt when playing in Allen Fieldhouse. They always get that whistle. We saw it a few years ago with Caleb's Grill. He hits that three. Allegedly, his foot's on the line. It wasn't, but that's a conversation for another day. But that's just one example of how they're constantly getting bailed out, and that call is a game-shifting decision
Right.
being made by the officiating crew, and it does them no good to give them petty wins like that, because they're gonna get in the tournament and blow it against Arkansas. Like, you're babying them, and then they're not going to be ready for the big moment when you all of a sudden decide to swallow your whistle. So you want, like, if the refs really want Kansas, they want what's best for Kansas, call the game straight up, because at the end of the day, you're only doing them a disservice, patting their butt and saying, "Oh, it's going to be okay. We'll help you." Like, grow up. God, I'm so sick of them.
And then on
can't
top of
take
that,
it, dude.
the go-ahead bucket, you could convince me that Dickinson A pushed off and then B traveled before he hit that go-ahead bucket with 2 seconds left. So it just keeps on coming. I feel sick for TCU fans. They were robbed in broad daylight. It was terrible.
Yeah. And you'd think, those are Jesus-loving people. You'd think they would get the benefit of the doubt. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's sad. But since we're on I want to shift from one Texas school to another. Texas Tech. First of all, shout out to y'all for beating Texas
Yep.
because
Big game.
when Texas loses, the world wins. All right.
Correct.
So I'm never gonna clown them for that. What I am gonna clown them for is Pop Isaacs coming up in the news beforehand. Before, mind you, he dropped 20 in this Texas win, but comes up in the news in the most not positive headline. Obviously, it's a civil lawsuit. You said,
Yeah. Civil lawsuit.
yeah, he's in a civil lawsuit, allegedly, assaulted a minor. But apparently, the Bahamas, it's different rules. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Um, I did want to just like make an observation about Texas Tech. Why is it every year, whether they're a post Texas Tech alum, a previous coach or whatnot, they're always just finding a way to do some weirdo activity. From the Chris Beard situation to Mark Adams getting with his, God rest his soul, his twin brother's widow. Like, that's nuts. And then you got, man, could you imagine being the PR guy for this team?
Tough sled.
Dude's working overtime every day, no holidays. Just every time there's something new with Texas Tech, and it's like I just wish they would just relax and play basketball. Since they've made the national championship, they've been on a terrible run of just
That's
like PR scandals.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like they made the championship and the wheels immediately fell off. Like
They
they
lost
made a
it.
deal to make the championship at what cost? Like as soon as that happened, it like went off the rails.
Now here's a real question: did Texas Tech join the Illuminati? Is this a humiliation tactic?
Could
Something
be.
to think about for all my conspiracy fellow out there.
Also, right hand up, Jarrett Culver. I thought he was going to be an all-star in the NBA. Haven't heard of him since. Haven't
That's
seen
what
the
I'm saying,
guy.
man.
Haven't no idea where he's at. Truly, he was drafted by the T Wolves. He was like a top 5 pick. I was like, this guy's going to be an NBA shooting guard for years to come. He's the next
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler. Gone forever. No idea
nothing.
where that guy's at.
Don't even know what he's doing right now. It's
No clue.
sad. It's sad. But
On the really burning some bridges in the Big 12, but we got one last team to kind of go after. It's the Baylor Bears, who just opened their new arena, the Foster's Pavilion, can house a large high school. I think it's like 8,000 people, which is kind of lame, but whatever. They're camera angled, Nigel. So in today's age, what are we doing? How is your camera angle not like your number one concern? Way more people are going to be watching your games from their couch than in this beautiful new arena. And I'm about to get vertigo. And can you play the clip here? It looks even worse. Like I'm about to topple over in my chair as I'm like, is this from the ceiling? Is there just a GoPro to the top of the ceiling looking down at this? It is bad. That's one of the worst camera angles I've ever seen. How can like Syracuse figure it out in a football stadium and Baylor couldn't plan it in a brand new state of the art arena?
yeah, that's very high. I don't even think like because Cameron Indoor is real up
Yeah.
and like narrow. I don't even think they're that high. Like they've managed to get an angle where it's like you don't feel like you're looking down at it like a bird, that is bad.
That's terrible. And we're going to have to watch games like that anytime we play at Baylor.
Yeah. I hope is Baylor one of those teams where we're playing them once this year, or is it twice?
At Baylor. Yeah, we just play at Baylor. They never come to Hilton.
Oh, so we'll be getting that camera angle soon.
Yeah,
So
February 3rd.
beware, Cyclone Nation. Beware.
ESPN 2.
Aiden, if you can pull this up, because I sent it to you. I sent it to both of you. But Purdue yesterday, no, it was Saturday. They were in a timeout. They come out. They're about to inbound the ball. And it looks like what Purdue is doing is this Android Juicy Wiggle.
It's
all right.
bad.
This subpar Juicy Wiggle. And what bothered me, and everyone on the internet loved it. They're like, oh, this video is it's so hard. It's so cool. It's like, buddy, we do that in our sleep. I wake up in Juicy Wiggle. All right. And, they were doing it. It was the whole Juicy Wiggle, but there was no woo.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the woo, what is it? What are you doing? Everyone's just punching the air.
And I think it was to Sandstorm, which is like a techno like song from 2005. What are we doing here?
It's just like it's like after they do the whole thing, it's just like a weak little shimmy.
Yeah, they just do like an awkward clap and then start over.
No one looks like they're actually like they're looks like they're trying to be Iowa State. And when the
Yeah.
number one team in the country is trying to be you, that's a compliment, you
To
know?
be fair, I will put on the record, I have no idea. So I was I was in school when the Juicy Wiggle tradition started, and that dance did not the dance didn't start when the song started. The dance came on maybe a year later.
Yeah,
Like it used to be like they would just hit Juicy Wiggle and people would just freestyle and just like go crazy and just like move around like a fish.
yeah.
And then at some point the dance was added. So it very well could be that we did steal that dance from someone, but it's way cooler to Juicy Wiggle than it is to whatever the hell Purdue is doing.
But if we stole it, how are we already doing it better? You
Yeah,
know?
that's the thing. Did we
Like,
really steal it if we look cooler when we do?
yeah, that's like, come on now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, this is weak, bro. This is weak.
Yeah. Just another Big 12 thing to keep an eye on. BYU, again, they've been the darling of the Big 12, lost at home to Cincinnati by 11. Keep your head on a swivel in this conference. There's just nothing is guaranteed.
You
You
think
can
Kenyon
lose.
Martin's back on Cincinnati
Yeah.
the way they lost.
We were told that Cincinnati wasn't supposed to be anything. They just waltz into Provo, Utah,
They said
and win
she.
by double digits. So what could
Yeah.
go wrong? Even the
No,
bottom feeders are just beating up on the big guys.
I think the only gimme game, I truly think West Virginia could go win this year.
Yeah.
I think that is the only like underhand pitch game you're gonna get all conference season is West Virginia. And again, that's an uncharacteristic year for them. I think once they get their feet under them, and I know they're under a coaching change and whatnot. I
Right.
think once all that kind of weathers down, I think they're gonna be a team that you cannot sleep on either. So
Yeah.
just man, it's gonna
Tough.
be a long 2 months. It's gonna
It's
be a long
tough,
2
man.
months. It's I'm looking forward to it. I want to be excited for it, but it's like it's hard to get hype when every team is like, oh God. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you just you want to have those games where it's like we should play well. But then knowing Iowa State, it's like you get an okay state that's underwhelming and then you lose at home. So again,
Right.
it's the Big 12 it's madness. And I guess it's best to be in madness before March Madness. So then you're
True.
used to the madness. So
Yeah, this could definitely be a year where like a lot of in the Big 12 tournament, you could have a lower seed than what you'll have in March Madness. Like Iowa State could be like a 7 seed in the Big 12 tournament and like a 4 seed in March
yeah.
Madness. So
Yeah, no doubt.
it's messed up.
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Like you said, yeah, coming off a close loss to Oklahoma, let's go home and get back on track. Oh, who do we play? Oh, the number 1 defense in the country, 3rd team in the great, awesome.
Yeah. And guys, know this, that if you live in Ames, walk to the game.
Sure.
Krusty Krab pizza, walk to the game. Okay.
Yep.
Just take the snow, take it on like a true Midwestern, take it on with pride, and show your cycling some love because they're gonna need it, especially
Get
on
some
a
ski
Tuesday night.
shoes, get a toboggan, get a sled. I don't care what you have to do. Get to Hilton. They need you. They need you.
Thermostat with like chicken noodle soup at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A dog sled, whatever you got to do. Get some Huskies. I don't even care how you get there. Just get there.
Just who's gonna carry the boats? Cycling
Yeah.
fans.
Yep.
So let's. I'm excited. I'm excited. I
Yeah.
like to see a good dogfight. I want to. If I'm gonna see a dogfight, I want to see us. I want to see us come out on top. So
Right.
we'll see.
Could be a sicko game. I hope you have the under. Both of these defenses are legitness. So
Yeah.
buckle up, take the under, and let it ride.
Legitness. That was really telling of your age, but nonetheless. Oh my God, that's funny. Also,
All right.
happy belated birthday to Mr. Dylan Coon. It was Friday. I kind of snuck up on me. I didn't know it was your birthday till the day of, but happy birthday, buddy.
Appreciate that. Had a great weekend. Would have liked to cap it off with an Iowa State win, but we keep it moving. I will say on I think it was my 20th birthday, Iowa State won at home against Kansas. And I think that's truly one of the best birthday presents I've ever gotten. So
Oh wait, was that
that would have been
2019?
2019.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember watching that game. That was a great game.
Yeah. And I didn't even have tickets because like it didn't count for my student tickets, and I
Yeah,
wasn't dropping $200 as a college student to be there. But
yeah.
watched it from my rental house in Ames, Iowa. Had a blast.
Halliburton had like 15 off the bench. I was like,
That was a good game. That was a
yeah.
good Kansas team too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be a good game on Tuesday, so we'll definitely lock back in next week. Uh, how do you like this angle? I feel like this is a better. I'm getting more, shoulder room, and that you can see kind of my shirt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I got 2 shoe boxes right now under my computer, so I
Oh,
think that's gonna be the
that's how
method
we're
we're
doing
gonna
it.
go with. Yeah,
I might have to test that out. I'm still getting used to the camera angle at home. I'll try to be in studio as much as I can because
yeah.
I'm
If
pretty
you're
close.
any boost,
I'm pretty close
shoe
up here.
box.
Okay. We'll keep that into consideration. All that said, we appreciate you listening. We'll be back here next week to recap a couple of games. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.